Crypto. All the crypto news in one place.
So I'm always curious to see, like, is this the reality? Is this AI generated? What is going on? And it seems like as time goes on, we get kind of suckered into all these different things that are happening. And are they real? Are they not real? So you have to go to the source, as always, just for every type of scam and AI stuff that's out there. So to go to the source, I went to Truth Social. And I don't believe that Donald Trump's account was hacked, because I'm actually seeing this in other publications. But here's what the President of the United States, Donald J. Trump, states. The United States of America has successfully carried out a large-scale strike against Venezuela and its leader, President Nicolas Maduro, who has been, along with his wife, captured and flown out of the country. Man, that's crazy. This operation was done in conjunction with U.S. law enforcement. Details to follow. There will be a news conference today at 11 a.m. at Mar-a-Lago, and that would be roughly 3 hours from now. Negative retentions matter, and so on and so forth. So when I read this, I'm like, wow, that just got real. And you would think that we would have some pretty awful days as far as like this news coming out.
Something that, I have been seeing over the past few hours, and I don't know if it is going to affect. It just disappeared right now. You can see it disappeared. But there is a reports on a situation where the U.S. is doing things in Venezuela. And so maybe that's why we're seeing a little bit of a sell-off here right now. Again, I don't know if that is the reason why. Somebody in the comment section a few weeks ago, when there was previous reports on this, said that was the reason why things were selling off a little bit. It could be, but I think it's more, low liquidity Saturday, a little bit of profit taking from yesterday, and so we'll see. But what we need to know is that trends need to hold.
I tweeted it smells like war, and there's that was the other part of my bearish scenario that I didn't necessarily go into.
Trump
but
goes to war with Iran, basically.
No, I mean, we're already more or less at war with Venezuela. So then, and I think we said it on the show already. It opens up the door for China to do the same thing in Taiwan. So if they did that, that could really cause a lot. And interestingly, that was something Drew and I were talking about over the holidays. One way to hedge crypto, if you think this was going to happen, we may have talked about this on the show or not, and I think Drew is going to do this, is you go open a put on NVIDIA. Because if they were to do that and kind of blockade everything going in and out of Taiwan, kind of like what we're doing with Venezuela, that would immediately tank a lot of markets, but it would absolutely tank a lot of the AI.
Bitcoin, we're recording this on Friday, January 2nd, and Bitcoin is starting to do a bit of a breakout. Nothing to call home about because we need further confirmation, but that's a good sign. But to your point, tax loss harvesting and all the end of year selling, that is officially done, and it's a new year, and maybe we can wipe the slate clean. And even with, the market being in a really bad sentiment standpoint, people are fearful, depression. There's been a lot of sell pressure. Maybe that's coming to an ease, and we see a reversal.
Yeah, I think that's the hope. I'll share my screen, and we can look at how at least the past 7 days have looked, and we'll even look at the past 24 hours because this Friday so far, we're about 2/3 through it in terms of UTC time.
And also, lastly, probably the most important step in this risk management, holding cash and or stable coins. Cash is not bearish. Cash is optionality. It gives you flexibility. It allows you to act when others are emotional. It allows you to act when others are stagnant because they've deployed all their capital. The last couple sections I want to get into, you have to understand the new market reality. ETFs are going to slow down the volatility. We already saw that in 2025. But at the same time, ETFs and institutional adoption are going to increase long-term demand. Institutions aren't looking to get a 100x overnight, right? Regulation is pushing capital toward fewer high-quality assets. This is what we want to get exposure to now. That means fewer lottery ticket outcomes, but more sustainable winners over time. The upside's still massive here, guys. It's a new market. The path is just more mature, and you have to grow up with the market that is growing up before us. The last 5 years, this market has changed dramatically, for the better, I might add. Now, the investors who will win in 2026 will be patient. They're going to be selective. They're going to ignore short-term noise.
Tom Lee now says that the best years are definitely ahead for crypto. Only 4 million Bitcoin wallets hold over $10,000 versus 900 million brokerage accounts globally with $10,000. That's a 200x larger untapped market. Of course, Tom Lee is going to say that the crypto market is going to be doing well because he has a huge interest with his company BitMine, and he wants Ethereum to do very, very good. He wants the crypto market to do very, very good. So of course, he's going to go on CNBC and he's going to be bullish on the crypto market. He's always been bullish on the crypto market, but of course, he has an interest. The same way that Saylor is going to be, positive on the crypto market, and investors in the crypto market would most likely be positive on the crypto market. If somebody is shorting or someone sold their assets, then there's more likely that they're going to be bearish on the market. Okay, so that's very, very important to remember. Everybody has an interest.
When this 2026 debt wall hits, panic will set in, and investors will look all around the world and ask themselves, where's my money safest? So if the theory holds true and plays out, as the crisis starts, capital will flee Europe and Asia and rush into the US dollar and treasuries because, despite its problems, the US is the cleanest shirt in the dirty laundry. And as the dollar gets stronger, the global economy milkshake gets sucked into the US. When all this money, all of this global liquidity leaves other markets and gets locked up into cash and bonds, this means stocks dump. Real estate freezes, and yes, cryptos crash as well. So Bitcoin could drop 40 to 50% in a panic flush before the Fed finally fires up the money printer. It could, with decent probability, hit its 200-week moving average, which would be around $55,000. Anyone who is over-leveraged here will get annihilated. All right, scenario 2, global conflict, World War III. Geopolitical tensions are high, and when major wars start waging, the rules of money change pretty instantly. Historically, when wars start, capital flees to the safest asset first, which is still the US dollar. Hearkening to, yet again, the dollar milkshake theory. The dollar strengthens massively as the rest of the world collapses, yes, including Bitcoin and crypto markets.
You see a lot of accumulation during the weak times. Weak times. Like Tether, for example, just bought another 8,888 behind the scenes. That's like close to $1 billion worth. Now they hold almost 100,000. So there are a lot of people that are loading up while the price action is weak. Look at this. Realized cap for new whales. Look at how it's been growing. And more so since we've come down from our high of 126. In fact, this started skyrocketing to the moon when we actually started falling down. Now, obviously, 2025 has been tremendous already, but you notice this didn't dip down at all. In fact, it's been going up even faster. So there are a lot of accumulation right now. And this is the same thing that happens every single time we have a crypto winter, we have a local bottom, we have some kind of consolidation sell-off, right?
We got Polymarket. Polymarket traders bet against Bitcoin at 21% chance of $150,000. And these are important. One of the reasons why I like Polymarket a lot and we cite them a lot is because it's really transparent and it's easy to see. And that's why a lot of people pivot over to Polymarket. But Polymarket traders give Bitcoin only a 23% chance. Sorry, guys, I read the title wrong. Or the data I have is different than this. Only a 23% chance of hitting 150,000 before 2027. Most traders expect Bitcoin to top out between 100,000 and 120. There's also an option to play on $250,000 before 2027. So this is the thing, and I'm going to go into charts with you guys right now. This is my personal opinion on Bitcoin, all right? Bitcoin is going to do what Bitcoin is going to do.
So let's go over to Coin Bureau's tweet here. Odds of Saylor's strategy being delisted from MSCI jump to 76% on Polymarket. The stock has plunged 66% over the past 6 months, falling from $457 to $152. Now, a lot of people were like, you know what, we're investing in strategy instead of Bitcoin. That turned out to be a really, really bad idea. That's why you stick with people like us. We've been in this space for a while. we believe that we've shown people that Bitcoin doesn't need any third party intermediaries. All right. So there doesn't need to be anybody between you and Bitcoin. Whereas Saylor stands between you and Bitcoin essentially because he wants you to invest in strategy. Guys, stick with Bitcoin and you're going to be fine. That is why, in my opinion, Bitcoin is the best, safest investment on the planet.
So this chart is showing us we have Bitcoin dominance going down, altcoin dominance going up, which means that we will see altcoins outperforming Bitcoin, altcoins going absolutely parabolic. This is what we call altcoin season. So we can see, guys, this should be the biggest bull run we have seen for altcoins. Historically, we should see a retest of this trend line over here, the top trend line in the red. So 2026 is going to be absolutely massive, insane for macro events and XRP and crypto prices. And we have direct USD to XRP volume on Coinbase up 365% over the past couple of hours. This is a massive increase in just hours. And guys, keep in mind, this is new money coming in, not swapping with existing stablecoins. We do have a lot of new money flowing into XRP, which is bullish, causing the price of XRP to move up. So this does explain why we do have XRP, right, having this nice green candle right now, moving up even higher, trading at $2.02. Guys, again, it seems like the reversal XRP bull run has officially begun. And we are repeating the 2016-2017 XRP bull run. We have XRP completing the 393 sideways accumulation, the same duration seen before the 2017 breakout. And now we do have XRP pumping.
They created this website where you can see a daily update of how much XRP is on exchanges. This is incredible to see, and we could see the full tracking list, right? We have the complete exchange ranking. We also have the website. This is what it looks like. I do have it open. We do have the market overview. 41 exchanges are being tracked. And we also have this change since February of 2025, which is over 8 billion. So over 8 billion XRP has hit exchanges. We do have here the market overview, total XRP holdings over 16 billion. And we could see, just going over the actual holdings, Upbit is number one with over 6.2 billion XRP. The balance back in February of 2025 was about 5.9, almost 6 billion as well. We did see XRP change about 267 million. Also Binance.
A Bank of Japan insider just deleted a tweet that could mean everything for Ripple and XRP. We gotta explore what the tweet was. Somebody caught a screenshot of it. Now we're gonna talk about it. We also have some new information, new clips about Ripple and XRP, and of course the crypto market. I got a Lord Belgrave thing that I want to go through as well in this video, but let's start here. This was actually yesterday's news. An account called Pumpius, a well-known crypto commentator, shared a screenshot of a post that appeared briefly on X, then disappeared. The post came from Yuto Kanzaki, identified as a Bank of Japan insider.
Get to market very quickly by using something that already exists and perhaps, I guess, punting some of the upside, or deciding to build it completely and entirely yourself. So is there a model that you favor?
Listen to me. Listen to me very carefully. This is where the part of the podcast where I get to deliver a PSA.
I'm ready.
Sort of, you ready for the PSA?
Yeah.
And I'm one of the godfathers of the mother of all vanity stablecoin projects. You may recall, I think the first time I was on, I was with Libra, and in some ways, in hindsight, Libra in many respects was a catalyst of a lot of the wave of innovations and regulation and policy making that we've seen around the world. But in some ways, why it was so universally disliked and feared is because it was a so-called vanity coin project. And it was very, very hard for the world to see it as distinct from Facebook back then, and that scared people.
The SEC is no longer going to be going after crypto ICO companies or companies that do decide to ICO, which is amazing because historically they have done this consistently in the past. They also said that ICO is tied to network tokens, digital collectibles, aka NFTs, and digital tools should fall under the CFTC oversight. Only tokenized securities would remain under SEC regulation. And this could potentially revive the ICO fundraising in the US. And again, if you remember, Coinbase announced that they were going to host their first ICO to everyone in the USA. retail, accredited, whatnot. And they did this successfully with Monad. The sale started off a little bit slow because, again, the current state of the crypto market is kind of, are we in a bull market, bear market, what's happening? But it eventually ended up doing incredibly well. And Coinbase is going to continue to do this at least once a month. So this can actually open up the door for innovation in America because, again, ICO is all about creating a really dope product, essentially using the token to kind of raise money, but also use it as a form of utility in the ecosystem because you can use the token for different things. So this could potentially open up capital flowing in a non-predatory way. And again, the ICO boom of 2017 was crazy, like nothing I've ever seen before. It was super hard to participate too.
Now let's get into the whole thing with the title and thumbnail, AI. So I actually stole this idea from Ron Sovereignty Swanson, and I linked his account in the description of this video. Definitely give him a follow. It's pretty interesting how he said this. He says, hey, Grok, if you had to pick one type of existing money that would best serve humanity for the next 1,000 years, what type of money would you pick and why? And this is why I want to bring this up, because I know when people get into Bitcoin, we kind of lose sight of the real good it can do. And we just take a look at number go up. Numbers going up, great. Numbers going down, bad. But if we take a look at what do we really own, and if this can just help some people maybe doing a little bit more of accumulation, not financial advice, or to stick around, hopefully this helps out.
We also have, we can see it breaking Iran, exploring crypto payments for overseas arms deals. So obviously, transacting crypto for arm deals is not ideal, but the same thing is happening with money anyway. So it seems like we have BG123 for telling us of the adoption of crypto payments, which will happen the beginning of
Easily there's $1.5 trillion of fraud in the United States, and nobody believed him. Well, he's been vindicated because now the world is aware of all the fraud across the board. This is the head of the UN Security Council, and he had a taxpayer-funded healthcare company which was convicted of Medicaid fraud and worked as a supervisor in Medicaid government office, and also apparently has some medical offices and childcare offices, and childcare is supposed to be a very lucrative business, apparently. So yes, Somalia wins the fraud games, but the fact that this guy is heading the UN or NATO, whatever it is ridiculous. And shout out to Peter Sendong as well. He said, Minnesota Somalis have apparently stolen more than the GDP of Somalia. This is just Somalians in one city in the United States. And now nationwide welfare fraud could exceed $1.5 trillion a year. That is enough to exempt all American taxpayers from up to $200,000 in taxes. Just to put that in perspective, the fraud is rampant in this country. And so far, the Olympic medalist is Somalia, but they've yet to do California. I think the fraud there could be bigger. And shout out to Warren Buffett.
What's the biggest risk for next year? At 57%, it was AI bubble. And number two, I think, was like 9%. So it wasn't just that it was the biggest one. It was that in the years of doing this, they've never seen such a wide gap between it. And I think that's because the economy is growing at, the last 2 quarters at close to 4%. Unbelievable. Number two, inflation is headed down. Gas at the pump is going down. The Fed is cutting rates. Profit margins are at all-time highs, and earnings are expected to be double digits next year. We have stimulus coming in Q1. So there's not a lot to be bearish about in terms of like the structural part. You got credit spreads at all-time tights. There's no sign of anything going on.
That's what all the TV shows tell us. So it will be very interesting to see what happens. And big news here coming from the SEC, anti-BTC commissioner or anti-crypto commissioner has exited the SEC. Caroline Crenshaw has officially left the SEC as her term has expired. A vocal Bitcoin critic, Crenshaw voted against spot Bitcoin ETFs, marking a notable shift in the U.S. crypto regulation. So it seems that only one left is now that was anti-crypto is gone, and the SEC is fully pro crypto, it seems. Right? I don't want to say what they are, right? It starts with an R, right? They are they are all R starts with an R, right? I don't want to get political, but they're all Republican, it seems, right now.
If the Clarity Act doesn't pass by the midterms, because probably by the midterms after that there'll be a big shakeup, is it like way less likely to pass if it's after the midterms? And if it doesn't pass, is that, you know, detrimental to crypto?
Well, I think it is detrimental because I do think there is still a market expectation that it's going to pass. I do think you need that clarity, frankly. You got to get it because you want to start that process of tokenization. The name of your show is Altcoin Daily, right? You want those altcoins to move. What are a lot of those altcoins about? They're about use cases. They're about utility.
The Fed balance sheet, quantitative easing. They call it repurchases overnight. Well, it's quantitative easing. The Fed's balance sheet just has surged plus 24 billion. Remember last night they did a reverse repo, like I think $74.6 billion injected in the market. So this doesn't look like much. This is a balance sheet on the Fed just rolling off. But if you zoom down here, look at 2020. Look at this. This is right after COVID. Boom, when they printed, and then, you know, massive money shoot to the upside on price action. I mean, come back over here to 2020. What do we see? Sideways with the COVID washout. Oh my God, stabilized. Remember that massive up signal that we just saw? Where was that at? Right here. Boom. This is buying. The Fed just absolutely stacking things in the market.
So this means that these guys issued a note to be like, hey, if anybody want to borrow money, please, here's the money. So they executed the first event yesterday. And the first operation failed because none of the banks had a bid. Nobody was bidding. And then they issued the same operation again. And then after that, $70+ billion was injected into the system. So if you don't understand what this means, it simply just means, imagine if you run an operation, you run a business and you have a Rolex watch and you need some money, you need some cash quickly to sort of pay for orders and so on for your employees. You have a watch that's worth $50,000, but you don't want to sell it. So you're like, you know what? Why don't I just go to the pawn shop, make a deal with them and say, I'll give you the watch, you keep it for me. You borrow me $10,000 to take care of my business. I'll return it. I'll return to you $5,010. So that $10 is the interest to be paid.
I know in a recent video, I said January 2nd, which is today, we were getting the PMI print. This is a core foundation to my bull thesis. It is the years of contraction we've seen in the business cycle. Was waiting to see what the print was. I think it's usually the first business day of the month. And for whatever reason, it's scheduled for January 4th. This is on Monday. So we did not get the print. I will be tracking it. We'll probably do a full video on it once it happens. One thing I wanted to show you though, and then we'll really dive into some of these charts. I saw this on the Trading Economics website for the PMI data. What will a December 2025 business cycle confidence be versus prior 48.2? Because as you know, if we go to this chart, the last print was 40.
I need to share with you who has actually been selling Bitcoin recently. So this is the Coinbase Premium, essentially showing us how much dumping is taking place on Coinbase. And what you can see is that there was a lot of dumping happening on Coinbase. And how do we know this? Because the price on Coinbase was lower than other exchanges, meaning that the actual spot selling happened on Coinbase. And you can see that how this accelerated here. It got higher and higher, the selling, moving into the 1st of January. But more importantly, look at this. Since the peak here, on the last day of December, 1st of January, the selling has stopped and we're actually going up and being more healthy here. So whoever has been dumping Bitcoin on Coinbase, these big institutions, whales, whatever it may be, they stopped selling.
You can see we had that top out in October, right? And then we go from 120, what was that? Roughly 126, just say 126, 126,000 for Bitcoin. And we go all the way down. And check this out, all the way down to roughly 80,000. Are you kidding me? $80,000? Are you kidding me? And now from 80,000, we are bouncing around this zone. This is the zone I'm watching. And it's ending almost perfect. So the 50 EMA comes down through the top line of resistance I have. Now we're down to the 50 EMA basically being the big line in the sand. We broke the Bollinger Band yesterday. Today, you're seeing a little bit of a green candle. And more importantly, yesterday we had the 5 cross the 13 EMA. So this is Bitcoin. We know that strategy needs this. Is strategy one of the best stocks to buy now? Yes or no? It depends on the price of Bitcoin.
Let's take a look at BTC. Nice little flag last night that right before it was about to break out, they went and stop hunted. And that's what happens on these slow volume days. You do not get the follow through. But the good thing is there's some good news about this move. The last 2 times we got above the 200 moving average away from the 21, we came right back, right back, right back. Even this was a nice flag. Here they did ruin the flag, but there is some consolidation. There's a bit of good news. And Bitcoin is holding 89.9. We went up to almost 91,000 last night, 90,945 there on a nice spike. Look, they whipped it down, they whipped it up. They made a bit of a diamond pattern there. Let's take a look at the daily setup and see what's happening for the month ahead, the week ahead, and what's coming up for this weekly candle close.
Long-term holding so far this year, you could have actually locked in a great deal of capital losses, which could actually result in you having a little bit of a tax write-off up to $3,000 per year against your income being a deduction. So this is a big part of the reason why you've seen a lot of selling pressure on Bitcoin lately as well. People locking in these losses to lock in capital losses to help with their taxes. This is something that we've been talking about over on the first cohort trading group. So if you guys have not already, make sure to sign up for that. So that's the second reason. But the third reason that I'm most interested in that Bitcoin is going through a rally here is because Bitcoin has managed to do something that we've seen it do many times in the past. It has traded sideways straight into a major level of resistance. We did this with this downtrend right here. Bitcoin traded sideways right into this downtrending level of resistance, broke through it, and in doing so, now Bitcoin is rallying up down here to the 50, rallying up to the descending 50 daily simple moving average. This is incredibly important because what you will notice is that every single major rally on Bitcoin so far this bull market has started with a break above the 50 daily simple moving average. You can see back over here in this corrective movement, Bitcoin was trading sideways below $30,000. We ended up seeing Bitcoin set a major breakout above the 50. In fact, this was a classic overside underside test. We had our underside test of the 50.
When you go to the daily, this is what we're talking about. It's the symmetrical triangle. We have a $108,000 target to the upside, $69,000 target to the downside. And when you go to the 1 hour, really looks very clean. Look at that candle there. Look at that candle there. And right now we are showing signs of reversal candles. This is, if it were to close like this, a textbook doji candle or morning star candle, you hear different names, but basically a reverse indicator candle. And it does look like Bitcoin, if the bulls can't take over, we are going to probably come close to testing the bottom of this range. Let's go to the 4 hour, kind of, look at the middle there. You see we push up, get pushed down, push up, get pushed down, push up, push up.
Here, and evens just like it's done historically in times like back here, okay? And so in terms of the first thing we need to be understanding of is that we are running into a ton of structural resistance right now that can easily push Bitcoin's price back to the downside. Now, outside of just structural resistance, there is also downside liquidations, or in other words, an incentive for Bitcoin's price to go down. If we look at CoinGlass, what you can see is that on the one-day charts, there are now nearly $2.6 billion worth of liquidations back at $85,000. And on the 7-day charts, there's nearly $6 billion worth of liquidations back at $83.5 thousand. What does that mean? It means that as Bitcoin's price would continue downwards, we would see billions of dollars in liquidations occur, which would of course be something that these market manipulators would want. Remember, the people who are corrupt and control and manipulate this market, they benefit when people get liquidated. So if you're sitting and you're seeing a ton of liquidations below you, there is an incentive now for Bitcoin's price to go back down and liquidate those traders. And so that's a threat. That's a very real threat. The good thing is, though, there are also liquidations above us. Look.
a lot of resistance in between around 92,000 to 94,000. So keep that in mind. At least for now, the price is still within that support and resistance, still in this sideways price range. And if we're zooming further into the short term, looking at this price action right here on the 6-hour Bitcoin price chart, we can see that just over the last few hours, over the last one day, we have now technically confirmed one 6-hour candle close above this short-term level of resistance for this even smaller sideways price range that we've been in over the last 1 to 2 weeks or so. And so in case you're new to the channel, this level of resistance was sitting at around 89.9k, so obviously very close to $90,000, acting as a major point of resistance, at least in the short term, for the price of Bitcoin. And once again, just recently we have now confirmed one 6-hour candle close slightly above that resistance, which is technically one confirmation signal confirming a breakout above this resistance. But keep in mind, obviously now we're in the retest phase as of recording this video, and so now we ideally need to hold this level as support, because if, for example, we start confirming candle closes, multiple candle closes back below this level right here, and we fail to hold that level, in that situation that would invalidate the breakout and would be a bit of a short-term bearish signal, basically pointing towards the continuation of the price remaining in this previous range back here. And so ideally we need to see that short-term bounce continue in the US stock market to really help out the crypto market in the short term continue these short-term breakouts above this point of resistance. But remember, even if we hold this level and continue this short-term breakout here on the 6-hour Bitcoin price chart, as I said earlier, we still have a lot of resistance to pay attention to in between around 92 to 94,000.
So, did you enjoy the zap? Let me know in the comments.